Welcome to the 2019 Halloween show here on the Midnight Who Show. So let's get started with the very first review, of course, The Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror number 30. So grab yourself some Halloween beverage. This is the wrong holiday. Delicious, yes, but still the wrong holiday. You seriously can buy this in October? Shocking. Or next year is going to be pretty cool though if you think about it, because that's going to be 31, so you can watch one a day if you really want to. But let's talk about the 30th Treehouse of Horror, and this was also episode 666. It's almost like they planned that. Of course, they started off with Maggie basically being the Antichrist, and a bunch of stuff started with that, which was hilarious. Definitely an interesting opening. We've seen Maggie be possessed before, but this was definitely a different type of possession for Maggie. She was the Antichrist in this version. So how I'm going to do this one this year, instead of talking them segment by segment, I'm going to talk about my least favorite segment of this special, and I'm going to talk about my favorite. So my least favorite one was probably the third one. It is the Shape of Water parody. I fell in love with Kang, which I definitely thought was a very interesting idea. It definitely was kind of funny, in a sense. I definitely liked when it was more focused on kind of that Shape of Water, but after that I didn't really enjoy it. But it was at least somewhat decent, and it was far from the worst Treehouse of Horror segment I've ever seen. But definitely an interesting idea of taking the Shape of Water and adding a little Simpsons twist, and I also like how they got Kang Kodos kind of involved in the sketch, and of course, Kodos does fall in love with Patty, and it's a funny little dynamic between those two once they finally head off. So now, of course, the second segment that was basically when Homer died and he goes up to heaven, which is ironically owned by Google, which I thought was kind of hilarious in this sense. And he basically, it's not his time, so he kind of goes back in heaven, but of course his body is a little too far gone, so he basically tries a bunch of different bodies on for size, which I thought was hilarious. I actually really was laughing at this, through all these kind of people who he's basically trying to become them and just living their lives. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was definitely hilarious. Good as the first segment, which was, of course, the Stranger Things parody. And oh boy, did I enjoy this. It had references to the first season, to the third season, and a little bit in between. It was hilarious. I also really enjoyed how basically Lisa was 11, Homer was kind of Hopper, and all the kind of references to the 80s, just so you can kind of see them all in the background. And I like how they basically live in this kind of upside down world. It was absolutely hilarious. I really enjoyed this segment. It was just my favorite. So yes, overall, I really did enjoy this 30th Treehouse of Horror. It's definitely not up there as one of my favorites, but it's definitely a really good job. It had a lot of good moments to it, and a lot of good parodies this year, which I thought was really nice. Talking about Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, which is one of the more first directed DVD, at that time VHS, movies for Scooby Doo. And like I mentioned in the Return to Zombie Island movie review from last month, I enjoyed this way more than I enjoyed that. I really like this because it basically kind of takes the whole kind of Scooby-Doo mystery idea and kind of twists it. Of course, the gang have all gone their separate ways. They each have their own jobs, their own life. But, basically Daphne wants to kind of find a real mystery, not someone in a mask. And I really like how, at the beginning when the gang all comes back together in that road trip, and it's still people in the mask. They don't find anything. It's just some person who put on a costume to cause some trouble. But then they go to Louisiana, and they meet just a normal person, they think, and they go to the island, and then there's cat people and zombies. And of course, when I rewatched it not that long ago, I really enjoyed it. A lot more than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I did not like this Scooby-Doo adventure. I thought it was, well, for them, scary. It actually scared me to even think about it, to even watch it, and I never wanted to even go near it. Watching it now, though, I find a lot of the zombies, they're really well animated. They're very kind of scary looking zombies. But now, in all these kind of zombies that I've seen over my life, from Walking Dead to a few other movies, it's nothing compared to what's on this Scooby-Doo thing. But it's definitely a really good Scooby-Doo movie because they basically have a mystery that's not people in a mask. It's people who are basically either zombies or cat people. And I really like how they just kind of set it up where there's no really escape right now because they gotta defeat these cat people. And of course they're gonna kind of steal their life energy. At least is how I described it. But yeah, I really like this movie now much more than I used to. And also, it's just kind of, I really like these kind of early type of Scooby Doo movies. You don't get many of them anymore. Like I mentioned in that review, it's just nice when things were a little bit more real, if that makes sense. You know, they weren't always people in a mask. There's a little bit more stakes to it. And I really like that because it makes you kind of think, are they going to be able to survive it? What's going to happen? But yes, there's a lot of kind of really good moments in a lot of these early Scooby Doo movies. Of course, you know, Zombie Island, Alien Invaders, The Witch's Ghost, and of course Cyber Chase, which we talk about these because they're really good Scooby-Doo movies. The entire year was of course It Chapter 2. I really enjoyed the first It movie. And of course it's mostly because Pennywise was brilliantly casted. Bill Skarsgård did an amazing job, and he does a really good job in this film too. He definitely has the frights, the scares, and it was all good. I really enjoyed that element of it. But there's something missing from this film. You know, I thought the acting was fine from the actors who were playing the adult versions of these characters, but I don't feel like they have the same, they didn't really work as well together, I don't think, as the original cast. I really do enjoy the parts. I really do like the flashbacks where we see, the younger cast basically, and we get to see kind of moments that we didn't see from the first film. A bit with some very weird choices that they made. Some of those moments, you can tell they were using kind of the de-aging technology, and it showed sometimes. I didn't really like that. But besides that, I think one of the biggest problems with this film for me was it was almost 3 hours long. That's a lot of time, and I really think as there was many good moments in this film, they probably could have shrunk it down just a little bit. I feel like that second part, half of the movie, where they were all kind of separated, kind of revisiting their past, and kind of getting apart for this. They could have easily, I think, this is just me talking though, they could have probably shrunk that down a bit. But it did have one very amazing cameo in that part, and that was, of course, Stephen King. So, it was such a good scene. He was so good in that scene. I really enjoyed that part of it. And besides that though, I also felt some of the scares in this movie, I didn't really like them as much as the first film. But if I look at this film, was it satisfying? Did I really hate it? No, it was just there. It was just okay. It was nothing truly spectacular, but it was at least somewhat decent. It was at least well made. And of course, Bill Hader was amazing. He was so good. He's probably my favorite part of this movie. As the older Richie, he did such a good job with it. And there's some secrets revealed, which I thought was awesome. But yeah, the only thing I will also say is I really don't think the bully from the first film, Henry Bowers, I don't think he was needed for this film. He was just there to cause trouble, it seemed like, and he was very, very far gone. He's probably my least favorite part of this movie. But what I can really say is I had at least a decent time, and this could have also been that I was too excited for this film and I was left a little bit disappointed. But it doesn't surprise me sometimes that this happens. When you build up hype a lot, sometimes something like this happens. Overall though, it's well made. It is a well made film. There's some really good acting. They could have probably edited a few moments out, but it was at least decent. At least they tried. They put effort into this. And some of these choices that they made, could they have been? They maybe wanted those, or something this. But it doesn't, it's basically, this is basically it's a conclusion. And a lot of moments in this conclusion that could have worked, and I just don't think they did very well at it. But overall though, like I said, great acting and some really great moments. And some moments that were really scary, and just some moments you're like, what are they doing? But yeah, overall, It Chapter 2 is at least a somewhat satisfying conclusion. A bit not as grand as the first film. Thanks for watching our 2019 Halloween show. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and tell me your guys' thoughts on The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror number 30 if you've seen it, Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, and It Chapter 2. Well, that is of course it for tonight. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's time to get ready for Christmas. even though there's still a holiday in between it. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.